There's Tier 2. Again, recommended to anyone who watches this. Go and have a look at some of the other tiers that are racing tonight. Sure, there's plenty of great racing to watch. But of course, YouTube is being a bit of a pain. Taking its sweet time for the stream to pop up there. It is there. I'm a tad bit quiet for some reason. Give me a moment. Alright, yeah, that should be a little bit better, I think. Just a little bit quiet. But yep, the stream's up, the chat's up, we're all good to go. Hello and welcome everyone to round 9 of the PlayStation Pacific Tier 1 series here on Race Spec Esports. We're back to begin another week of racing, and this time we're at the Suzuka International Racing Course for the Japanese Grand Prix. Constructed in 1962 by a joint effort between the Honda Motor Company and Dutch architect John Hugenholtz, Suzuka held its first ever Formula One Grand Prix in 1987. It's often regarded as not only Japan's, but also Asia's premier racetrack. The 5.8 kilometer, 18 turn course is incredibly fast and flowing. It demands a lot from a driver's skill and focus, especially the S section at the beginning of the course that is formed by turns 3 through 7. This is the section right now that Bags is going through. The inside curves in this section have a tendency to dramatically unsettle the car, potentially putting them into the race-ending barriers. They also have the high-speed curves of turns 8 and 9 that are the famous Degner curves. You also have spoon curve that is formed by turns 13 and 14. And of course, the most infamous turn on the circuit, the flat-out left-hander of 130R. Overtaking opportunities here are limited and few. Drivers will have DRS down the pit straight to try and make moves into turns 1 and 2. They have turn 11, Kobayashi Corner, the tight left-hand hairpin in the middle sector. Finally, there's the Casio Triangle, the chicane in the final sector that is formed by turns 16 and 17. At Suzuka, it's a old-fashioned, brutal racetrack, a proper test of a driver's ability. A track of this kind of stature tends to be incredibly rewarding if you do well, but can be equally incredibly brutal when you get it wrong. So it'll be interesting to see who gets it right and comes out on top here tonight. But first, a little bit of news from last week. Couple of stewards reports, one involving Plebs and one Slick Mofo, the result being one Slick Mofo getting two penalty points for causing a minor collision, an additional penalty point for not using the reply template. So he gathered a total of 3 penalty points from this incident. There was one between Blanchard and Leo. As a result, Leo is given a 10-second time penalty and 2 penalty points for causing a moderate collision that resulted in a spin for Spilly and damage to Blanchard. This moves Leo from P10 to P12. There was also one involving Blanchard and Blocky Rex, and as a result Blocky got a 5-second penalty, but that doesn't change his position at the end of the race. In the Drivers' Championship, GeForce Crichton is leading on 191, followed by Spilly on 165. 26 points separating the two with only a few rounds to go. Jack's currently in P3 on 113, followed by Leo. Then Blanchard rounds out the top 5. In the Constructors, Aston Martin are leading on 245, followed by Mercedes on 228. Ferrari are currently in third on 184, followed by McLaren and Williams. That rounds out the top 5 in the Constructors. And I think that's it in terms of news. can now look forward to what will hopefully be a very entertaining qualifying session. This is quite the dramatic racetrack. There's a lot of stuff that the drivers have to try and negotiate around this 5.8 kilometer circuit. Almost every curb around here is an auto spin curb, so drivers will probably do their best to avoid them as best they can. Or at the very least, if they do hit them, they do everything they can to not end up in the barrier. Currently, the driver at the top of the table is G-Force Ford with a 128.528. Driver on screen right now, Will, has jumped up to P7 with a 129.318. Jack's currently P6, setting a time on the mediums. That's pretty respectable. Swaggy starting a flying lap, making his way through turns 1 and 2. We're right on board with him, taking on a tour of the circuit through turn 3, then turn 4. See a lot of yellow flags around the circuit. This is only natural here at Suzuka. Up and around turn 7, Dunlop curve, probably the most dangerous curve on the racetrack. You really want to avoid that inside curve at turn 7. Through 8 and 9, there's Spilly getting out of the way. Underneath the bridge, through turn 10, into the tight hairpin of 11, given the name Kobayashi Corner after Kamui Kobayashi's performance back in 2012. Through 200R, turn 12, heading towards the first part of Spoon, turn 13. Brings it down to 5th gear, uses all the curve that he can. Through turn 14, a lot of understeer there. You could hear him lifting off the throttle just to try and find a bit of extra front end grip. Over the bridge, through 130R, and into the Castillo Triangle, turns 16 and 17. Down the hill, around the final corner, turn 18. There's a bit of time left in this lap. Swaggy jumps up to P7. Made a few mistakes, particularly towards the back end of the circuit, most notably at Spoon. At the moment, it's fairly close towards the top. Only 0.04 of a second separating Ford and Crichton as Spilly makes a bit of a mistake at turn 2. You could hear him lift off the throttle when coming out of the corner. And there is the nature of these curves. You saw it there. He just clipped the inside curve at that left-hander. Car completely went. It was completely sideways. He managed to gather it back up, get it pointing back in the right direction. He's backed out of the lap. He's lost 0.4 in the first sector, so he's backing out. But that's how brutal the circuit is. One simple mistake, and that could be it. Is that on an out lap? Swaggy's on an in lap. Macedonian on a flyer, I think. He hasn't used a great deal of battery. So, oh, he's very sideways there at the exit of the hairpin. Through 200R, heading towards Spoon. Yeah, I agree, Alex. The curbs here are quite broken. Appear flat. But yeah, they... Oh, as Macedonian has a big moment. Brushes the wall, but he gets going again. Yeah. The curves around here, I would argue, the most brutal in the game, maybe? There's certainly parts of other racetracks that can be as brutal as the curbs here at Suzuka, but the difference being here at Suzuka, almost every curb is brutal. Except for maybe the chicane at the end of the circuit. Actually, yeah, Budapest is a great example. Such as the notorious right-hander of turn 5, that inside curve you want to avoid at all costs, as Macedonian invalidates at turn 2. I thought he lost control of the car then. Down by half a second, Blocky. Up by half a second is Wogboy. Coming through turn 18, backs out of it. Going to come back into the pits. 9 minutes left in the session, so he's got plenty of time. Now Leo has retired. Did he crash out and I didn't notice? Or has he got a qualifying ban that I'm not aware of? I'll quickly check. Because out of all the racetracks on the calendar, Suzuka is one where you definitely don't want to start from the back. Very tough to pass here. Very tough indeed. Exiting turn 6, coming up and around turn 7. Avoiding that inside curb as best he can. Yeah, I don't see a qualifying ban for Leo, so I reckon he's had an accident somewhere. I think I haven't picked it up. As Plebs invalidates at the second Degner. G-Force Ford making his way up and around Kobayashi corner. Famous hairpin. Around 200R. Coming towards Spoon. 8th gear, almost 300 kilometers an hour on entry. He's down to 4th gear for turn 14. Down towards the crossover point and the end of sector 2. What does the clock say for Ford? Down by 0.2. Can he find that time back here in the last sector? He's running low on fuel. That's a no, I think. Up by 0.3 is Crichton in the first sector. That's a mega improvement. Will has crashed out. That is at the exit of Spoon. You can see his dot stationary there on the minimap. So the best Will can hope for is P10. Coming towards Spoon. Chucks it in. 5th gear. Brings it down to 4th gear for turn 14. Uses all the curb on the exit. Keeps it to the left. He'll bring it over to the right for 130R. Sector 2 says hasn't really found too much time in the middle sector. On the brakes for the chicane. 3rd gear. Uses all the curb he can. Around the final corner sideways as Spicy jumps to the top of the table. He is soon eclipsed by Crichton, setting a 128.163. That is almost 0.2 quicker than Spicy in the McLaren. Is Zach getting ready to set a flying lap? Spilly in the middle of one. He's up by 0.2 in the middle sector. Coming around Spoon. 5th gear. Down to 4th. And he'll get a bit of a tow here from his teammate. What great teamwork from the Aston Martin pair. Ford will get out of the way, back off. He's purple to the middle sector according to the mini-map. Down to 2nd gear for the chicane. So 1 gear lower compared to Crichton. Far more controlled around the final corner. Opens DRS. He jumps to P3, overtaking his teammate. Only just, though, 19 thousandths of a second separating the Aston Martin drivers. Plevs also has jumped up from 16th to 7th by finally setting a lap time. So he's inside the top 10. James on an in-lap. I think he's low on fuel. You can tell from the red flashing icon in the telemetry. Zach, I think, is getting ready to set a second flying lap. Swaggy is off the circuit, demonstrating the Alfa Romeo's capability on gravel. But, most importantly, he's kept it off the walls, so he can go back into the pits, put on a fresh set if he wants, or get rid of all the dirt that is currently on these tyres and have another go. We'll find out what he does soon. Scotty down, so I reckon he's getting ready to set a flying lap. Wogboy has just improved? Or is he on another flyer? I don't know. He's using battery, and visually he's going very fast. Oh, sideways there. Through Dunlop. Pushing hard. No, he's half a second down. Definitely not pushing. Just visually, he looked to be very quick. Alright. Macedonian coming towards the Sector 2 split. What will the clock say for the AlphaTauri driver? Coming up to it now. Up by almost half a second. That's a considerable improvement. With just over 3 minutes left in the session. Coming through the chicane. Nice and tidy through there. Opens DRS, crosses the line. 14th quickest. Still about 2.5 tenths behind his teammate Scotty in P13. Is that on a flying lap? Rather fitting to see the Honda tribute livery racing around Suzuka. This is what was supposed to happen as Minardiberger has joined late. So we'll have 18 cars. Hopefully the lobby won't freak out and we won't have to reset. Yeah, it's rather a nice design, isn't it? It came with the 1.12 update and it's paying tribute to the engine manufacturer that is leaving the sport after this year. Based off Honda's first ever Grand Prix win back in 1965 at the Mexican Grand Prix, with American Richie Ginther behind Richie Ginther behind the wheel. As Izzat has jumped up to second place, the 128.291. That is just under 1.5 tenths behind G-Force Crichton, who is still on pole position. Pretty sure it's Richie Ginther. It sounds right. Richie Ginther. Spicy getting ready to set his final flying lap. Just got a little over 1 minute left in this qualifying session. So who will push that envelope and try and take pole position here at Suzuka? Let's find out. Spicy beginning his flying lap, heading down towards turn 1. Absolutely flat out. He get on the brakes as soon as he can. Get it down to 5th gear for turn 2. Uses all the curb on the exit as well. Then through the S's. Keeps it in 5th gear through turn 5. Keeps it in 5th for turn 6. Now through Dunlop curve, turn 7. Nice and steady so far. What does the clock say? Down by 15 thousandths. Can he find any time in the middle sector? Coming towards the hairpin. Gets on the brake, 2nd gear. Short shifts to 3rd to find the traction. There's a lot of people checking up at the chicane, I can see on the mini-map. Coming towards Spoon Curve. That session is done, so the best he can hope for is P2. And he would like that. I'm sure he would like to start on the front row. G-Force Zach has retired, crashing out at turn 1. You can see that Mercedes dot stationary. Up by 8 thousandths. Can he find any time in this short final sector? Through the chicane. Around the final corner. Spicy will cross the line to set a 128.249. He jumps up to 2nd place, which is soon taken by G-Force Ford. Crichton up by 42 thousandths of a second in the 1st sector. He's making his way towards Spoon. Gets on the brakes. Oh. As that's not good, Crichton has left the session. That's really not good. G-Force Jax has retired. He's crashed out here at Spoon. We're right on board here with Spilly. His lap's invalid. There he is there, at the side of the road. The Jax session is done. He's on the cusp of being out of the top 10. James crashes across the line in P11. And I think that's it. I think that's qualifying over. It'd be Crichton on pole position, but he won't be in the car at the start of the race unless, well, something happens between here and the start. I'll keep an eye on the Discord. And look at that. It's not even showing the tyres for some of these guys. But I know that all of them qualified on the softs except for Jack, so I'm pretty certain of that. We've got Crichton on pole, Ford in second, Spicy in third, is at fourth, Spilly fifth, Plev sixth, Bags in seventh, Swaggy in eighth, Wogboy in ninth, Jax rounds out the top 10 on the mediums, then James, Scotty, Zach, Will, Macedonian, Blocky, Leo, and Minardi Burger. Yeah, and there's not a lot of chatter in the Discord, which is kind of concerning. Zach just DM'd me. He was up by 1.5 tenths. Then his game crashed. So that's what's happened. To him, he got blue screened. I hazard a guess that we're still going. I don't think we're restarting. Yeah. Yeah. I think we're still going. Right. Bit of cloud cover here at Suzuka. Japan isn't exactly foreign from rain. In fact, the very first Japanese Grand Prix back in 1976 had torrential rain at Fuji International Speedway. Quite the historic event, because the race dictated who became champion in that season. It was between Niki Lauda and James Hunt. And that championship is so famous they made a movie out of it. I'm sure everyone watching knows that movie. Movie by the name of Rush. Probably one of the better films that I've watched in my time. Really, really well done. But drivers are setting off on their formation lap. Let's have a look at who's on what tyre, shall we? So top 9 starting on the soft compound. Crichton, Ford, Spicy, Izzat, Spilly, Plevs, Bags, Swaggy and Wogboy. Next car is Jax on the mediums. Those are slightly worn in qualifying. James, P11 on the medium, same as Scotty in P12. GeForce Zach starting on the soft tyre. What are these two up to? What's Minardi Burger doing? Well, Spicy and Izzat have invalidated. Are we doing a lobby reset? Ah, yeah, right, that explains a bit. That explains a bit. We're doing a restart. Session is apparently glitched, so... Quit to main menu. It'll get sorted in just a little bit. We'll be alright. Yeah. Hopefully this won't take too long. Boop. Yeah. So, I'm guessing we'll get a custom weather setting as well. I don't think they'll leave it on dynamic. So maybe somebody can give me an idea of what the conditions are going to be like in the race if any of the drivers are watching. I wouldn't mind a weather report. Yeah. But it's good to see that the game is still quite broken. No rain throughout. Thank you very much for that. Only 7% chance, so. A nice dry race around Suzuka then. And typically that's better with the dry races. With wet weather races, everybody gets very defensive. They don't like to attack anybody. They get into their own little shell because they're too worried about themselves losing control and ending up in the barriers. Right. Invites out. Boop. There we are. Joining session. Oh, don't tell me it's going to do this. Yeah, this is... it's going to do this. Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have to cut off the stream ever so briefly and start up another one. Because this game is horrible, and I need to restart the game in order to join the session. And when I restart the game, that automatically cuts off the stream. So, to anyone who watches this, watches up until the end, there should be a part 2 somewhere for the race, okay? Oh, damn, I love this game. I really do. Quite right. Alex? Quite right. Rightio. I'll see you later. Watch part 2 if you want to see the race.